You built this business from the ground up, but there's one thing you cannot overlook, and it's essential you pay attention to it. It's your bookkeeping. And no, it's not about just crunching numbers or just keeping the IRS happy, even though it's a requirement. Your bookkeeping is what sets you on the tone to ensure you have a thriving business that actually pays you. Because if your business isn't paying you, what the heck does it matter? Truth is, until I was in the midst of a conversation with a new client who had no idea why she signed up for us, except for her mentor told her to, that there was such a confusion or a lack of knowledge around why bookkeeping is critical and legally required for your business, but also that there's such a confusion on what bookkeeping actually is. So in today's video, I'm gonna break down what is bookkeeping, and yes, we're gonna keep it super basic and assume that we're starting all at the level playing field. We're gonna tell you why it matters, what actually it is, and we're gonna give you some tips on what to look for when and if you hire a bookkeeper. And I'm gonna be real with you. I'm also gonna let you know when you shouldn't hire a bookkeeper and you should just do it yourself. And then if you stick all the way to the end, I'm gonna share with the key difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant and a profit strategist and a tax accountant. Because I know it's confusing, but bookkeepers, tax accountant, profit strategist, they're all different. But first, if you're new here, my name is Cheryl, my business partner Katrina, and I own Empower to Profit, where we help small business owners just like you put more of your profit into your pocket, aka we help you get paid more. So simply put, bookkeeping is classifying your transactions. In your business, you receive money and you spend money. In the simplest level, bookkeeping is classifying those transactions. And it matters, well, one, yeah, for the IRS. Two, so you pay less in taxes. But my favorite part of why bookkeeping is so important is it's gonna give you the reports or the roadmap so you can grow, scale, or do whatever you want with your business. It's the guide if you look at those numbers. And it wasn't until I had this conversation with a client that I didn't realize there was such a confusion around what is a bookkeeper actually doing, what are they looking at? And why can't you just connect your QuickBooks file to your bank and call it a day? And here's why. One, that's relying on technology to work 100% of the time, 24/7. And let's be honest, we all know it goes down. We all know that there's times where a glitch happens or mistakes happen, and you don't want that in your business books, because oftentimes what that means is you'll pay more in taxes because you won't catch that expense. You won't catch something that you've paid for because you're not reconciling your account. But that's a big word, so let's rewind. What does reconciling mean? And how does that apply to bookkeeping? So your bookkeeper, they classify those transactions as we just talked about, they put labels on them, and then they're gonna make sure that the bank record matches their record. That's a reconciliation, and it's critical that happens. If you are doing your own books, no shame in your game. In fact, we suggest it if you're under the 6-figure mark. You need to make sure you're comparing your bank transactions to your accounting software, aka QuickBooks or possibly Wave Online. If there's a difference, you have to investigate further. So that's what bookkeeping is, real simply. Classifying your transactions and comparing your accounting records to the bank's. And if there's a difference, you're looking into it. And it's crucial this occurs. Our team catches mistakes from technology all the time. Our clients would be paying more when it comes to taxes, or they would have inaccurate reports as well, if our team was not reconciling our records versus the bank and just relying on technology. So it's important. If you have a bookkeeper and they're not reconciling, they're not doing you any favor. Next, I want to dive into what you should look for to know that it's time to hire a bookkeeper. I know it's weird to hear from an accounting team who makes the majority of our money from done-for-you service, but let's be real. You are smart. For heaven's sakes, you started a business. You can do your bookkeeping if you want to. How you know it's time to outsource is A, you refuse to do it. You're like, I just won't do it. If you know that, like, don't even waste your time. It's time to outsource. Two, if you're like, if you could make more money doing something else. Now, in the beginning, everyone wants to say, of course I could make more money. But the thing is, are you really taking the time that it would take you to do your books and you're going to do that activity elsewhere? If the answer is yes, then hire a bookkeeper. But if you're not there yet, no shame. Do it yourself. And then the last thing I like to say is, if you're not willing to learn the software is critical. It's going to give you your reports. It's going to make sure you reconcile. And if you know how to use it, it's really simple. And it makes it go so much faster. Use QuickBooks Online. We absolutely love it. Gosh, if you want a $24 course on how to use it and like fast track it, I'll link it down below, and you can get our Money Mastery Toolbox. There's a whole course on how to use it. You are smart enough. Now, if you don't want to do it, if you could make more money doing elsewhere and you refuse to learn the software, it's time to outsource. So let's talk who you should outsource to. Well, my first rule of thumb is you need to absolutely love them. They're in your books. If you do not like your accounting or your bookkeeping team, find a new one. Let's be real. There's a dozen agencies that would love to have your business. We're one of them. Find out more down below. But I want you to find someone that you love working with, that you're comfortable asking questions. The amount of people who tell me they are afraid to talk to their accountant just blows my mind. Also, I want you to go into the conversation knowing what you want out of it. Do you just want books for tax time? Well, that's a different price than if you want profit strategy or something else. And quite frankly, it's a different person. The key is when you go into a relationship with your accounting team, yes, like them, feel comfortable, know who's touching your books, but also know what you're looking to get out of it. When do you want your reports by? Do you want to have a meeting? No? Okay, know what you want. And the last thing I'm going to hit on, I know this is a lot of information, but having a bookkeeping team that can support your small business or going in and doing it yourself is critical. Not just keeping the IRS happy, but to be able to grow a thriving business. So lastly, let's talk about the different professions, because a bookkeeper is really the entry level, but also those records are the most important to everything else we do. It all layers like a pyramid. So at the ground, we have the bookkeeping team. They're going to classify your transactions. They're going to reconcile. They're probably going to send you your reports. And then from there, it varies into different specialties. You can have a profit strategist, kind of like what our team specializes in, and that's cash management. How are we going to grow your business? How are you going to get paid? How much should you pay yourself? All those conversations are profit strategists. An accountant, a profit strategist is also an accountant. I think the easiest way to think of all of this is think of the medical field. And I feel so silly comparing it to that, but it's my best analogy. You know, when you go to a general practitioner, that would be an accountant. And then you might have a specialist at the orthopedic. That would be like your profit strategist, where they just specialize in profit and cash management. But they're an accountant. Like, that's my master's is in accountancy. That sounds cool. So those are two different fields. But you have to know what you want so you know what level of service to pay for. And then separate from all of that is a tax accountant. Now, a tax accountant is someone who specializes in the IRS. They obsess about tax law. And yeah, it's different than a profit strategist and accountant. Now, could someone claim they're a generalist and be in all of them? For sure. Do you want a generalist? That's up to you. I know I prefer a specialist, but whatever you want. So it all starts with the bookkeeping, and then there's different specialists or generalists depending on what you need and where you're at in your business. If you haven't hit 6 figures, probably doesn't make sense for you to invest in this massive accounting package and team, right? Take home more of your money before you pay it out. But once you're over that, it's time to think about, how can I grow, scale faster? How can I ensure I'm getting paid and there's cash to pay my team? When you're at that point in business, it makes sense to start to outsource. But it all goes back to know what you want and make sure you're comfortable and happy to talk with your accounting team. Because if you're not, I promise you, there's another company, another agency who would love to work with you. And if all of that sounds great, you're like, yes, I need an accounting agency, our info's down below. We would love to help you out. So with that, I want to thank you for hanging out with us today, and cheers to profit.